Hi, this is Alex, and this is a new story on my channel.
My fiancé demanded his groomsmen spend $2,000 each on his bachelor party. They all quit, and I refused to help him pay for it. I thought I was going to marry the man of my dreams. My fiancé, Mark, was everything I'd ever wanted. For 3 years, he was charming, ambitious, and incredibly loving. We had a great life, a nice apartment, and a shared vision for the future. The moment he proposed under the stars on our anniversary trip, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. The first few months of wedding planning were blissful. We agreed on almost everything, from the venue to the flavor of the cake. It felt like a partnership. I had no idea that a single conversation about his bachelor party would be the first thread to unravel everything. It started on a Tuesday night. I was on the couch scrolling through Pinterest for centerpiece ideas when Mark sat beside me, his laptop open and a giddy smile on his face. "Babe, I've figured it out," he said, his eyes gleaming. "The perfect bachelor party." "Oh, yeah?" I asked, happy to see him so excited. "What are you thinking? A weekend camping with the guys? A trip to that brewery you all love?" He laughed, a sound that in retrospect was more condescending than joyful. "Think bigger, Sarah, much bigger. 5 days, all inclusive luxury resort in Ibiza." I blinked, processing the words. Ibiza, that was a lot. Wow, Mark, that sounds amazing. And expensive. Can the guys afford that? His smile tightened slightly. "It's a once in a lifetime event. It's not about the money, it's about the experience. I've already done the math. If everyone pitches in, it'll only be about $2,000 each. Flights, hotel, everything." The number hung in the air like a bad smell. $2,000. I knew for a fact that his best man, Dave, and his wife were saving up for a down payment on a house. Another groomsman, Kevin, had just had a baby. "Honey," I said gently, trying to choose my words carefully. "That's a huge amount of money to ask people to spend. That's more than a month's rent for some of them. Are you sure they'd be okay with that?" "They're my best friends," he said, shutting his laptop with a definitive snap. "Of course they'll be okay with it. They'd do anything for me. You're worrying for nothing." He created a group chat that night and laid out his grand plan. The silence in the chat was deafening. The first call came 2 days later. It was Dave, the best man. He sounded incredibly awkward and stressed. "Hey, Sarah, is Mark around?" he asked. "No, he's at the gym. What's up?" He let out a heavy sigh. "Look, about this Ibiza trip. There's just no way. I can't do it. We talked it over, and none of us can. We tried to talk to Mark, but he's not listening. We were thinking we could plan something awesome for him closer to home, but he called it a pathetic consolation prize. Sarah, we love Mark, but $2,000 is insane. I'm sorry." One by one, they all dropped out, each with a polite but firm no. When I told Mark, he exploded. It was a side of him I'd never seen before. The charming, easygoing man I loved was replaced by a furious stranger. "They're just jealous," he seethed, pacing our living room. "They're jealous that I'm successful, that I'm getting married. Cheap, jealous cowards, the lot of them." "They're not jealous, Mark. They're your friends with real life financial responsibilities." I argued, my voice rising. "This isn't fair." That's when he turned on me. His eyes were cold. "The problem, Sarah, is that you're not on my side. You're supposed to support me. This is the most important event of my life before I get married, and you're siding with them." I was stunned into silence. Before I could even respond, he delivered the final blow. "If my friends are too broke to make my dream a reality, then you should help," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "You have your savings for the wedding decor. Use that. Pay for me. Hell, pay for Dave and Kevin too, so they don't have an excuse. If you really love me, you'd want me to have this." I stared at him, my heart pounding in my chest. He wanted me to take the money I had carefully saved from my own salary, money meant for our shared future, to fund his ridiculously extravagant party after his friends had wisely refused. He wasn't asking, he was demanding. I found my voice, and it was as cold as his had been. "No." "What?" he scoffed, disbelief on his face. "No," I repeated, a strange sense of clarity washing over me. "I will not pay for it. Not one single cent. It's a completely unreasonable and selfish demand, and I'm not going to enable it." The look on his face was not one of love or disappointment. It was pure, unfiltered rage. That night, for the first time, I didn't see my future husband. I saw a total stranger. And I started to wonder what other ugly truths he was hiding behind that charming smile. That single no was the beginning of the end, and the first step toward uncovering a betrayal that was far worse than just a fight over money. The week after our fight was the coldest I've ever experienced. We lived like ghosts in our own apartment, the silence thick with resentment. Mark's charm was gone, replaced by a sullen, passive aggressive mood. He'd make little comments designed to guilt me. Had to cancel the booking today. The guy at the resort sounded so disappointed for me. Or, Dave is still trying to get me to go to some cheap cabin in the woods. Guess that's all I'm worth to people. I refused to take the bait. The man I knew would have understood his friend's financial situations. This new Mark was entitled, manipulative, and it was unnerving. His phone, once casually left on the coffee table, was now his constant companion. He'd sit on the couch, angled away from me, a smirk occasionally playing on his lips as he texted. The secrecy was a new and ugly development in our relationship. I kept replaying his words in my head. This is the most important event of my life before I get married. Why? Why was a party more important than the feelings of his fiancé and his closest friends? A dark suspicion began to bloom in the back of my mind, a suspicion I was too afraid to name. The confirmation I didn't know I was looking for came on a Friday night. Mark announced he was going out for drinks, a bitter edge to his voice as he said, "Since I don't have any real friends left, I'm meeting up with a guy from work." He showered, put on his most expensive shirt, and doused himself in cologne. Far more effort than a casual work drink required. He left his iPad on the arm of the couch as he walked out. An hour later, as I was mindlessly watching TV, the iPad screen lit up. It was a notification banner at the top of the screen. "Chloe, can't wait for you to ditch the fiancé and have a real party with me in Ibiza." My blood ran cold. Chloe. I'd seen that name before. A few weeks ago, she'd left a fire emoji on one of Mark's old Instagram photos. When I'd asked who she was, he'd brushed it off as just some random colleague. The message wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a confirmation of my deepest fear. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. I had never, ever snooped on a partner. I believed trust was the foundation of everything. But his entitlement, the fight over the money, the secrecy, he had bulldozed that foundation long before I picked up his iPad. My hands were shaking, but I unlocked it. His messages were synced from his phone. My eyes scanned the list of conversations until I found it. A group chat named Marky's Ibiza Blowout. It included Dave, Kevin, and his other groomsmen. The chat started a month ago. With a deep breath, I started reading from the beginning. The first few messages were just Mark hyping up the trip. Then, the guy's hesitant replies started to come in. Dave. "Dude, this looks epic, but 2,000 is a bit out of my league right now with the house deposit." Kevin. "Yeah, man. With baby number 2 on the way, my wife would literally kill me, lol." Mark's replies were infuriating. Mark. "Stop being poor for 5 minutes and live a little. This is my last ride as a single man. You're supposed to make it legendary, but that was nothing." As I scrolled further, I found the private messages between him and another friend, one who wasn't in the main group. This was where the real Mark lived. Mark. "They're all backing out. Bunch of broke, whipped losers." Friend. "Told you 2,000 was too much." Mark. "It was a test. If they can't hang, I don't want them there. Besides, the main event isn't about them anyway." Chloe's already getting her ticket. Friend. "You're actually going through with that? You're about to get married." Mark. "Bro, I need one last story to tell. Sarah is great. She's stable. She's the perfect future wife. But she's safe. Boring. I need one more week of fun before I settle into that life." Chloe's the opposite of safe. I felt the air leave my lungs. Stable. Safe. Boring. He was using me for a comfortable life and planning to have one last hurrah before locking it down. But the worst was yet to come. I switched back to the main groomsmen chat, scrolling to the messages sent right after our big fight when he was trying to convince them to come back. Dave. "Mark, we're sorry, but we just can't. Can't we do Vegas for a weekend? Something more reasonable?" Mark. Number. "Don't you get it? This is my standard now. I'm not some college kid drinking cheap beer in a dirty casino. I'm moving up." Mark. "And don't worry about the money too much. If I have to, I'll just squeeze it out of Sarah. She's got a fat savings account she barely touches. She's obsessed with the wedding. She'll pay up to keep me happy. She's my golden goose. Just gotta play the loving fiancé for a little longer. Golden goose. The words swam in front of my eyes. This wasn't just about a stupid, overpriced party. This wasn't just about a potential one-night stand in Ibiza. This was his fundamental view of me. I wasn't his partner. I was his sponsor. I wasn't the love of his life. I was a safe and boring stepping stone to the lifestyle he felt he deserved. The shock slowly subsided, replaced by something I'd never felt before: a cold, methodical rage. There were no tears. My hand stopped shaking. My vision became crystal clear. I picked up my own phone and, with meticulous precision, I photographed every single incriminating message. The plans with Chloe, the insults about his best friends, and most importantly, the disgusting, unforgivable things he had said about me. I saved the photos to a secure folder. I closed the iPad and placed it exactly where he had left it. I turned off the TV and sat in the quiet, dark living room. The woman who had been excitedly planning a wedding just a week ago was gone. In her place was a woman with a file of evidence and a burning desire for justice. When Mark stumbled through the door at 2 a.m., smelling of expensive alcohol and false confidence, he looked at me in the dark and sneered. Sitting in the dark? Are you finally realizing how stupid this fight is? Have you come to your senses about helping me out? I looked at him, the man who was a complete stranger to me, and gave him a small, calm smile. Yes, I said. I think I have. He had no idea. He thought he was winning. He didn't know that I had just read the final chapter of our relationship and was now preparing to write an epilogue of my own. His comeuppance wasn't going to be a simple argument. It was going to be a performance. For 2 days, I played the part of the dutiful, apologetic fiancé. I let Mark believe he had won. I told him he was right, that his happiness was important, and that I had overreacted. His smugness was almost unbearable, but I held on to the images on my phone like a secret shield. To make my act believable, I told him that before I committed my savings, I wanted to get our parents together for dinner. I framed it as a way to clear the air and present a united front. Mark loved the idea. In his narcissistic mind, he saw a scene where I would publicly capitulate to his demands, reinforcing his victory in front of the people who mattered most. He thought he was walking into a coronation. He was actually walking into an execution. We met at a quiet, upscale restaurant, neutral territory. His parents, a stern-looking but fair couple, and my own warm but protective parents were all there. The air was thick with polite tension. After the appetizers, Mark's father cleared his throat. So, he began, looking between us. Mark mentioned there was a slight disagreement about the wedding plans. I'm sure we can sort it out. This was Mark's cue. He launched into his well-rehearsed performance, painting himself as the victim. He spoke of his dream trip, the betrayal of his friends, and my initial hesitation. He then took my hand across the table, his touch making my skin crawl. But I'm happy to say, he said, beaming at everyone, that Sarah has come around. She sees how important this is to me. She's agreed to help me make it happen because she knows our love is stronger than any little fight over money. All eyes turned to me. His mother smiled, relieved. My dad looked skeptical. This was my moment. I slowly pulled my hand from his grasp and left it on the table. You're right about one thing, Mark, I said, my voice perfectly calm and even. I do understand everything now. I understand why you were so desperate to go to Ibiza, and I know exactly who you were planning to meet there. Mark's smile faltered. What are you talking about? I picked up my phone. First, let's talk about your betrayal by your friends. I turned my phone to face his parents. This is what you called Dave, your best man since childhood, for not wanting to spend $2,000 he didn't have. I showed them the screenshot where Mark called his friends broke, whipped losers. His father's eyebrows shot up. And this, I continued, my voice unwavering, is why you needed a last wild ride? Because you find your future wife to be safe and boring. I showed them the messages about me, about my personality. My own mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark's face had gone from smug to pale. Sarah, this is not the time or place. Oh, I think it is, I said, cutting him off. This is the perfect place. Because you wanted our families to be here when I agreed to pay for your trip. It's only fair they're here for the truth. I looked at his mother, whose eyes were welling up. Your son wasn't just planning a trip, he was planning to cheat on me with a woman named Chloe. I showed them the explicit messages, the winking emojis, the plans for their private party. I saved the best for last. I put my phone down and looked directly into Mark's terrified eyes. But the real reason I'm not paying for your trip, and the real reason there will be no wedding, isn't just the cheating or the insults, I announced to the silent table. It's because I finally know what you truly think of me. I let the moment hang in the air, then delivered the final, fatal blow. You told your friend you would squeeze the money out of me because, and I quote, she's my golden goose. Just gotta play the loving fiancé for a little longer. The silence was shattered by my father pushing his chair back violently. Mark's mother was openly crying now, whispering, "No, Mark, no." His father stared at him with a look of pure, cold disgust. Mark just sat there, mouth agape, utterly defeated and exposed. I stood up. With a quiet click, I unclasped the engagement ring from my finger and placed it on the table next to my untouched glass of wine. The wedding is off, I said clearly. You can keep the ring, maybe you can sell it. Consider it a contribution towards your trip. With my parents flanking me like a protective guard, I turned and walked out of the restaurant without looking back. The aftermath was exactly as you'd expect. A flood of texts from Mark, ranging from pathetic, misspelled apologies to furious accusations. I blocked him on everything. His parents sent me a long, heartfelt letter of apology for their son's behavior. Dave and Kevin reached out too. Once they heard the full story, they were horrified. They apologized for not seeing the real Mark sooner, and we actually ended up becoming friends. As for me, I took the money I had saved, my Golden Goose Fund, and booked a trip for one. I went to Italy, ate incredible food, saw beautiful art, and remembered who I was without him. Refusing to pay for that party was the best decision of my life. It wasn't about the $2,000, it was about my self-worth, and it turns out that's priceless.